Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family to PSG Monthly Episode 3. And today we're going to be discussing the month of Mars. And today's special guest is Mr. Giorgios. Welcome, Giorgios.
Hello everyone, how's everyone doing?
We're doing great here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
So, the first thing we got to talk about is the victory versus Sociedad. What were your thoughts on that game? The performance? Like, out of 10, what would you give it?
I'll give it like a strong 8, maybe close to a 9. It was a really good game, it gave us a lot of confidence. I think we did what we were supposed to do. We played our game, we dominated it, and we couldn't have had a better result, I think.
100%. I mean, Vitinha had a chance towards the end, Barcola missing a tap-in the beginning of the game, and it was only Kylian Mbappe that scored his two chances. Do you think PSG are a bit goal-scoring reliant on Kylian Mbappe?
Yeah, we are. That's just how the setup is, how the team is set up.
Yeah.
As you can see from the stats, Kylian is by far the top scorer from the team. I think he has more goals by himself than anybody combined and the rest of the 11. So, yeah, but that's just how the team operates currently. Maybe next year we're a bit more dependent on the team, but then at the summer we'll be able to have some reinforcements coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because one thing I've seen is, what if this season, for example, in the Champions League, in a big game, Kylian Mbappe just, doesn't have a good game? Do you see someone else scoring the goals then? Or do you see PSG not scoring at all then?
I see us struggling more than we would think that we will.
Yeah.
It will definitely be more hard to create chances, find the spaces, play between the lines, have breakthroughs than having Kylian.
But do you think we'll still dominate position? And do you think an opposition team can take Mbappe out of the game? Is that possible?
Not really, because like Kylian is such a unique player that whatever you put in front of him, he will be able to have a good game.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we'll struggle with him inside the team. Yeah.
And that game, would you give more props to the players or to Luis Enrique on how he set us up in that game? Tried the entire new formation, playing Dembele centrally and all of that?
Yeah, I think everyone deserves his credit, the players and Lucho himself. He did a fantastic job in making those decisions that makes us unpredictable. So as with Dembele playing in the center forward role, dropping a bit more centrally than what he does out wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think everybody has to get his flowers. It's not really just one.
What would you say from the team? Who did you feel let us down a bit in that game? Because a lot of players performed really well. Well, are there like 1-2 players you expected a bit better from?
I don't really know, but what sticked out to me is that Barcola was a bit underwhelming. Obviously, in this month, he really struggled. He hasn't been able to show us the level that he was able to show us in the month before.
Yeah.
It was a difficult month for him, and now with the injury, we don't know how he's gonna come back. Hopefully, he comes back stronger. That's just the negative aspect of football, sadly, the injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in that game, I thought like the better performances, the most players have better performances than bad ones. So like Fabian played really well. Vitinha was exceptional. Berardo, I again made him like the star that we hype all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game by everyone mostly.
Yeah. And I remember there were some question marks over the Lucas centre back partnership, with both of them being left footed and Lucas Hernandez having to play right centre back, which, I mean, he rarely has played in his career. But did you see that affect his game? Did you see sometimes his like passing ability was not at his best because he was, I don't know, not in a wrong position, but in a more difficult position with his preferred foot?
It definitely did play a role because I saw Lucas being a bit more tense, uh, a bit more unrisky. He didn't take as many risks as he usually does with those line breaking passes
Yeah.
from the back. His passing game really suffered, but it was a good defensive display. There was nothing wrong defensively, so good on him.
And I mean, Kangin Lee, who came on in the second half versus Barcola, and ever since then, he's pretty much started every single game for PSG. How much do you rate him? Because I know a lot of people know that he has good ability. It's just the impact he can have on this team. And do you see him having more impact for the rest of the season?
Yeah, Kang In Lee is a remarkable player, honestly. He's so energetic when he plays, and his passing game is really top level. Like, not many players in Europe can play the passes that Kang In Lee does.
Yeah.
And he's just brilliant all around, like dribbling, shooting. His vision is incredible. His free kicks are a big threat, especially since we lack that in the squad with Hakimi being the only good free kick taker.
Yeah.
So it's really good to see Kangin Lee stepping up in set pieces. Yeah, and I really rate him massively. He's just a wonderful player to have.
Mm. And you know, a lot of people after this game were like, "Oh, it's Sociedad." I think they had won maybe like 3 games in the 2024 year coming into this game. Do you see
They
it as
had
that?
many draws.
Do you see that this game wasn't that impressive because Sociedad were not coming in with impressive form?
No, that game was really impressive because we played in a stadium that it's historically really hard to play in. Obviously, many big teams have went there and they lost their footing.
Yeah.
They really lost the game versus Sociedad. It's a really hard team to break Sociedad, so it was a really impressive win. I was really surprised with the way we dominated them, in a way that we threw them off for 90 minutes until they got that lucky goal in the last minutes of the game.
Hmm. Yeah,
Kind
because
of yeah,
yeah,
kind of affair to Donnarumma, who is having probably the best month of his career in terms of performances.
yeah,
Yeah, it was really remarkable month for him. Hopefully he this month he does even better.
yeah. I just like how calm he was, because I even saw that when we played AC Milan away, when they were throwing Donnarumma signs all over the pitch, and he didn't seem to be affected by any of it, which gives me very
Yeah.
positive vibes for him this season.
Yeah, he really stepped up this year. I think he's quickly becoming very underrated and one of the best keepers in the world, if not the best. In terms of shot stoppers, I think he's probably um, top 3, maybe first in Europe.
No, when you look
So
at an underlining stat called post shot expected, Donnarumma is by far the first in Europe.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Um, I actually looked at one stat. Donnarumma has faced slightly, pretty much the same amount of shots as last season, but he's just saving much more. And I want to come into something because, I mean, Sociedad were not that threatening across both legs. I think they created maybe one big chance across both legs. But how do you see Donnarumma being in a game where like we need him to make 5, 6 saves? Are you confident with him?
Yeah, like Donnarumma has showed us many times. Before that, he's a brilliant shot-stopper. Striking back to the game against Rennes away last month, I think, and also the game against Nice, he was really good.
Monaco as well. Away.
Monaco as well. Yeah, exceptional performance. Probably kept us that crucial point that we needed in that game.
Yeah. Plus, they would have given Monaco extra 3 points, 2 points, one less to us as well. That would have made the Ligue 1 title a bit closer, a bit tighter than it is.
Mm-hmm.
Moving away from this performance, we come to this 2-2 versus Rennes, and we've had the draw versus Stade de Rennes at home 1-1. Then we had the Monaco obviously 0-0, and then this one. It was 3 straight draws in Ligue 1. How do you feel about that? Because my consensus opinion about that was, okay, we don't really care about Ligue 1 at the moment. Do you feel the same?
Not really. I think we're going into every game playing and showing our character and showing the face that we want to win. I found the game really disappointing because Rams we really struggled against them. I think we got like probably one of the most difficult challenges we faced this year. And they came to the park and played really well, so congrats on them.
Yeah, but it felt like they wanted the game more
They
than
wanted,
us.
yeah, it's definitely they wanted to win more than us.
I remember Hakimi made that mistake in the beginning of the game. And then we actually wanted to do something in the game. We scored 2 consecutive goals, brilliant football. But as soon as we were 2-1 up, we just took our foot off the gas and became comfortable. Then they came back into the game, and then we tried towards I remember the last 20 minutes, we absolutely dominated them, created huge chances, but it was a bit too late by then. And obviously, Kylian Mbappe was arrested. Dembele was arrested. At least came on later on. I think not Warren. Some more players were arrested as well. Do you see it being the same for the rest of Ligue 1? Because we're obviously prioritizing the Champions League and Coupe de France ahead of Ligue 1 this season. Or at least now towards the end of the season where we have a 10, 12-point cushion and we are into the semi-final and quarter-final of those competitions.
Yeah, for now I think that's the case because Lucho really likes to rotate the squad. We see the lineup changing probably like every game or most weeks at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of the big factors as well that we didn't have many injuries this year. And players like Lucas and Dembele are up and running until April so far. So I think the rotation will continue in Ligue 1, and it's one of the main aspects of our game that makes us really competitive squad that everybody can slide into that role and play the game without skipping a beat normally.
Yeah, because
So
now
yeah,
we have more of a system than last season. Last season, it was
yeah,
more reliance on individual brilliance of Neymar, of Marco Verratti, of Messi, of Kylian Mbappe. And then the rest of the players were like squad players. They didn't have that big of an impact. I mean, even Ashraf Hakimi came out in an interview and said, with the Moroccan national team, I feel I have a role. But with PSG, I don't feel I have it. But now it's totally different. Like everyone here has a clear role in the team. Everyone is getting involved both in attack and in defense. But I want to ask you one thing. You know the quote that Lucho uses when he benches Mbappe? He says, we're preparing for next season. Do you see him using these Ligue 1 games to prepare for the season in terms of what players he wants next season? So if we take a player like Manu Ugarte, for example, do you think these games are tests for Manu Ugarte if he has a future at PSG next season. Gonzalo Ramos as well. Maybe Randal Kolomwani. Because I feel there are some players Lucho has a question mark over if they can have a future at this club.
Definitely, I think that the Lucho signing came really late, in my opinion, and Campos started working early this transfer window. Like he was wrapping up deals from the start of June. So like Ugarte, I think, came before Lucho did. I think
Asensio.
Asensio, I think Gonzalo was agreed before Lucho signed. So these signings, as I say, that it's really important for them to show up in their opportunities. Contrary to signings that Lucho wanted, like Ousmane Dembele,
Bradley
uh,
Barcola.
Arn- Bradley Barcola, Arnaud Denaz, and Randall Colomani.
You think he wanted
Who,
him?
who I think he did. Obviously, Colomani was signed on deadline day. Lucho was a big fan. I don't think that the deal would have gone through without Lucho's approval,
Yeah.
right? Especially for that sum. So I think he trusts Randall Colomani, and I hope he gives him the opportunity that he deserves, especially after the match he had against Chile with France. Hopefully, he starts in the next game against Marseille. I think that Randall is a more of a safer option. He doesn't really have to fight as much as Gonzalo has or other players that were signed like Ugarte and stuff.
Yeah. But do you also think it's about because we know that Gonzalo is a Campos signing, whilst Kolomani is a Nasser/Qatar signing? Do you think that also had an impact on the transfer and how they're used in the squad? Like Gonzalo has to prove himself more than Kolomani because he's signed by someone that has less power at the club.
I think the matter that why isn't he fitting or why he was a Campos signing and he has to fight a bit more is not really relevant. I think the only relevancy that we need to take seriously is that Gonzalo may not doesn't really fit into the profile that Enrique wants. He's a bit more of a liability with a ball at his feet. Obviously, Lucho likes his players to move around in the attack, switch places, create the space, open the runs. And from Gonzalo, he's really like a target man. He's like the guy you put the ball at his feet in the box and he scores a goal. So he's not really fitted into that build-up style. Same with Ugarte. Like Ugarte is more of a brawler, of a breaker, of a double
Sure.
pivot defensive midfielder. Not really a progressive, calm midfielder, able to move the ball around in the midfield and control the tempo as much as Fabian does, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I look at if you say Ugarte and Gonzalo, it's not about their quality. It's more about their profile. These are not profiles that Lucho, in his entire managerial stint, has been using. He's never used a target man. His Spanish national team, he played Olmo, Asensio, Sarabia, these kinds of players up top, more like false nines.
And even Morata is not really a traditional
Yeah.
number 9. Yeah.
He's someone that can run down the channels and so on. Whilst when it comes to the DM position, it's Busquets, it's it's those kinds of players. It's De Rossi at Roma, I think, as well. So he uses more of these passing DMs, as you said, ball progressors, rather than a pure ball winner like Manuel Ugarte. With Xavi Simons and Moscardo 100% coming next season, and there's still being reports that Lucho wants a world-class midfielder, i.e. Bruno Guimaraes or Joshua Kimmich. It's hard for me to see a future for a player like Manuel Ugarte at PSG. Do you share the same opinion?
Yeah, I do. I think Ugarte really does not fit into that style that we want to play. Obviously, at the start of the season, he had a really good start and impressed many people in the fan base and in the club.
Yeah.
Good on him that he's still staying professional after that really a good purple patch. I would label it. But I think that he played really well at a time where team lacked identity and were still trying to figure out how they will play. And obviously now that the identity is found and the style of play is completed and is implemented almost every game,
Yeah.
he doesn't fit into the plans and almost always stays on the bench.
And especially when it comes to
So
big
yeah,
games. Like
yeah.
Newcastle was the last big game Ugarte started it. And I even remember Jamal made the report about it, saying that Lucho did not like Ugarte in that game. And that's why he hasn't started a single big game since that game. Moving on from that game, you want to say something more?
No.
Moving on from that game, we have, in my opinion, an incredible performance. How we played versus Nice, in the beginning of the season compared to this game. Obviously, Nice are in much worse form. They've sacked their manager and everything, but this is still Nice. They still have Turam, they still have Bulka, Mofi off the bench, and so on. And we just play spectacular football. I mean, Nice, they had that last 10 minutes of the first half, and I would say maybe first 5 minutes of the second half where PSG were a bit underwhelming. But for the majority of the 70, 75 minutes of the game, it was pure dominance. It was pure domination from Paris Saint-Germain. Mm. What were your thoughts about the game?
I thought we played really well. An outstanding performance from Fabian. It was incredible the way he played. The goal and his assists were really good.
Yeah.
Killian was really top as well. Warren at right back, I was surprised. I thought that was his best performance as a right back so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from that game, I was really disappointed from Gonzalo's performance. He really was not on top of it that night. He lost most of his tools, really got dominated by Dante and Todibo inside the box. Couldn't do anything up front. So yeah, that's the only part critic that I have about the game.
What was your thoughts about Dembele and Kangi League? Like they played like central and right,
Mhm.
interchanging all the time.
Yeah, that duo was really something special that night. They played really well. It made them really unpredictable, especially with the inverted stuff. They were changing positions all the time, creating space, putting balls inside the box, making crosses. The link-up play was really top, and you can just see, like from Dembele's assist, how involved they were in the game and how many chances they created for us to have won this game 3-1.
Yeah, and I mean Nuno, and as you said before, Donnarumma had a big game. Just he makes like big saves look so small because he's so big. Like Morphy had like I think
Indeed,
a
indeed.
tap-in opportunity at the end, and Donna just no worries for him. That's easy for him. Vitinha, I'm trying to remember Vitinha. Vitinha had a good game. I, when I saw this game, it was just like, yeah, no. When we played the big games, we just played so dominantly, position wise, pressing wise. I mean, the second goal that all came from Dembele's pressing on Bulka, and then unselfishly giving it to Fabian Ruiz with an easy tap in. And obviously, Beraldo got his first goal for Paris Saint-Germain in that game as well.
Yeah, really good moment for him, especially after that Sociedad game.
Yeah.
He really needed that goal, so crazy good on him. Very good guy. Very good defender.
And then Lucas, just a usual Lucas performance. And then the game straight before the international break, Paris Saint-Germain absolutely destroying Montpellier with 4 of our 6 goals coming from outside of the box, which means PSG have scored the most goals from outside of the box in the Europe's top 5 leagues. Have you seen a game with a better goal catalog than this game?
No, it was really impressive. The amount of goals and the quality of each goal. It was honestly like one of the best games I've ever watched in terms of Ligue 1. Not
Yeah.
only this year, but of all time. Yeah, it was really something special.
And it covered up the huge Danilo mistakes that led to the 2 goals. I mean, we went into halftime 2-2, feeling a bit, wow, we should have done much better. We should not have conceded 2 goals. And then we came out so different in that second half. I mean, Kylian Mbappe's
Yeah,
goal that opened up the
we scored
goals. It
2
was
goals really quick.
yeah. Kangin Lee getting his first in a long time. Absolute banger as well. And that's what I expect from Kangin Lee. He's the agent Messi because he always, wants to tuck in with that left foot. That was the first time it worked. Obviously, the free kick. That wasn't the Nice game he had, the free kick. But for me, it was Vitinha because with Manu Ugarte starting, it was Vitinha playing as an 8. I've enjoyed Vitinha as a 6 so much this season, especially in the big games versus Dortmund away and in the recent Sociedad games, the second half of the first leg and the entire 90 minutes of the second leg. So with Vitinha playing as an 8 today, I had some doubts because, his playmaking, sometimes he plays a bit too safe. He doesn't take those risks. But the pass to Kylian Mbappe, the assists, obviously also got an assist later to Nuno Mendes. He had such a good performance. Such a great performance.
Yeah, so impressed by him. Honestly, that game, it was really an eye-opener to how much he's improved under Lucho's tenure at the club. The way he was really dictating the game, moving the ball around, making the right decisions in terms of passes and his crossing ability. It was really good. Obviously, tracking back to that Mbappe assist. It was really impressive overall. Like his passing accuracy as well, the way he was retaining the ball most of the time in situations where he didn't. He was really pressured. Yeah, very impressed by him.
Didn't lose the ball a single time in that game. Kangin Lee as well in that midfield. Do you see that being something we should continue this season, playing them two in the midfield, Dembele as well as that 4th midfielder, and then playing Fabiano Warren? But that means one of Fabiano Warren has to be benched.
Yeah, probably Fabian has to, but yeah, it just shows the quality that we have in the midfield. Striking back from from one of Luch's quotes at the start of the season that he said he was satisfied with his midfield player, in spite of the exit from Marco Verratti and Lionel Messi. Obviously, when he was dropping back in the midfield to pick up the ball, he was basically playing as a midfielder. And yeah, Lucho really showed us that even though losing these big names, big players, those quality stuff, really doesn't matter because he can himself create players out of nothing. Where we were really doubting Vitinha at the start of the season, saying that he shouldn't start. Kangin Lee's signing at the start of the season was a bit underwhelming, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
In terms of a name after losing two important players like Neymar and Leo Messi, we were expecting like a big name to come,
Yeah.
like Bernardo Silva and Joshua Kimmich, Frenkie de Jong. Yeah,
Because this game was like the peak midfield technical performance we've had this game. We've had many great games technically in the midfield, but this was the peak of it. Obviously, when you play Vitinha and Kangin Lee in that midfield, with Warren tucking in sometimes as well. And it just shows the progression we have made under Lucho. In the beginning of the season, we played Ugarte with Warren in a two-man midfield. But now it's like we're playing four midfielders. I just love how, as you said, maybe it's because Lucho wants to make us unpredictable, but it's just that we're always managing to find a better way to play football, whether that's changing the formation or changing the players. Like Lucio never just sits and just uses the same thing all the time. He always tweaks something to improve, bench this player, start this player. I mean, we were starting with Asensio in the beginning of the season, then it was Gonçalo Colo, then both got dropped, and Barcola started playing games, and now Barcola got dropped, and it's Kangin Lee. It's always something different, but still the same.
yeah, it just shows that his idea of really rotating the squad and being unpredictable really pays off, because every player has his role in the squad, instead of like the previous 3 years where the big names got their positions and basically nobody got subbed out. They were playing every game until they got injured for 3 months or something.
Yeah.
And then players like Fabian, who didn't really play that much, Soler, who was really lacking quality, came into the side and they didn't know how to play. They really lost their footing. And from this year, obviously, when we created a system and now rotating players, those previous players that played every game have now lost their spots. We don't see Soler really playing anymore, or Mukiele, for example.
Yeah. 100%. And I love how Lucho, for the majority of time, plays players based on their form and not their name. Like Gonçalo Colo, those are bigger names than Barcola. And were bought for a much more hefty and expensive price. But Lucho doesn't care. Lucho does what's the best to win games, not to please players. He's not here pleasing. What did he say that time? We're not a charity or something? He said in an interview, we're not something. I don't remember the wording. It was like a three
I don't
word.
remember either, so I'm gonna trust on you this time.
No, he said something like we're not I'm just gonna say, and as an example, he said we're not an MBE or something, which is something of a charity. When they were asking him about, oh, you're gonna give this guy minutes and this guy and this guy, he gives everyone a chance, but he doesn't overdo it. You're not good, okay? I'm gonna choose someone else.
And this is obvious by the Ugarte situation, that really started well and then had underwhelming amount of performances, a big amount of underwhelming performances, and now has lost his spot.
Yeah. And he creates this fighting spirit. For example, last season, we knew that Juan Bernal was always going to be the bench left back. We knew that Kimpembe or someone was always going to be the backup center back. We knew that this guy was always going to be a backup. But this season, I haven't felt that anyone is a complete starter whenever. Apart from maybe Marquinhos and Kylian Mbappe. But the rest, they have been fighting. Like Lucas Hernandez was surprisingly benched for Beraldo versus Sociedad in the first leg. There was a small question mark time over Dona when Tenas had those two good performances, but it was just a small thing. Obviously, in the midfield, sometimes Vitinha is a starter, sometimes Warren is a starter, sometimes Fabian, sometimes Ugarte. Everyone has had a chance. And that's why I don't like when, on Twitter and other PSG fans like victimize players, say, oh, why doesn't Lucho give this guy a chance? Everyone has played at least 1,500 minutes, apart from Mukiele
And tennis,
and Tenas.
probably.
And all
Which
of
is
them have,
obvious. Like,
yeah. And all of them have gotten enough chances to prove themselves. And the second thing is, it's not just about in the games. Lucho watches them in training. If you do not impress in training, you won't have a chance in the game. That's where you should be fighting. So I like how every decision that Lucho makes is logical. Every single one has a reason behind it. Even benching Mbappe was with some people, thinking it's a bit weird or something. I still understand why he wants to bench Mbappe, because it's about, as a leader, as the coach in the team, you have to be the alpha. And Lucho is just showing us fans, showing the rest of the world, showing the PSG players that he is the man. He's the boss. He's the one that makes the decisions. It's not Kylian Mbappe, and it will never be. At least when Mbappe made that decision.
Obviously, nobody's above. No player is above the manager or the club. That's why that's what I liked really about Lucho, is that he made it clear that it's not about you, it's not about the player, it's about the team and the benefit of the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, right now, at this time, we're not really equipped with playing without Kylian Mbappe. So that stuff where he said we're preparing for next season, I don't really like that, because I think next season we'll have more players coming in of that world class structure.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're being linked to names like Leao, Osimhen, Xavi Simons, who's coming back. Quality players that complete the side. Yeah, so.
If we jump into the big stuff, Paris Saint-Germain versus FC Barcelona. Did you have any preference when the draw was made, or before the draw was made? Was there any special team you wanted to face?
Obviously, the easy answer to say here is Dortmund. I don't think we would have gotten them because we played them in the group.
Yeah.
The rest of the teams, obviously, every big club qualified. No surprises in the round of 16. So it was a huge draw.
Yeah.
And I think we got a really historic club. We're playing a very historic club, a very big team, a very exciting team, a very young team. Not younger than us, obviously. We're the youngest team in the Champions League this year. They have a really exciting squad. So they're a really good opponent for us to be tested against.
And like percentage-wise, going into the game, what would you give Barca and what would you give PSG?
I don't really know, like, percentage-wise what I would give each team, but I think that PSG deserves their flowers a bit more and should have the slighter advantage going into it, because we have a really good system, a really stable side, rather than Barca, who are having an injury crisis this year, and their 11 really changes in a bad way game to game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, though, like, injuries help them bring up stars from La Masia, like Balbu Brasi, Lamine Yamal, etc. Fermin Lopez. Yeah.
I mean, I've watched Barca a lot this season. I watched both games versus Napoli, and they're not that impressive. They're not that impressive. And I know Barca, a historical club, la la la, but the team that they have now, the squad that they have now, the players that they have now are not historic players. They're not experienced players. And I saw the same versus Sociedad. Like, why I was not scared of Sociedad, especially in that second leg, because they were less experienced than us. When we have, had troubles and issues in the Champions League, especially in the second leg, is when we face a team, not a club, a team that is more experienced than us. When we face the Barca team, when we face the Real team, when we face the Bayern team, it's always a team with more experience collectively in the Champions League. This Barca team were celebrating reaching the round of 16 in probably the weakest group in the Champions League this season. This was a team that barely, let me say that again, barely scraped off Napoli, who have been absolutely horrendous this season. And what they do in La Liga doesn't really matter to me because, I think it's clear that La Liga is a farmers league at this point. What happens in that league stays in that league. We saw Real Madrid play 5th place RB Leipzig and look extremely mid. So I see it being heavily in favor for Paris Saint-Germain into this game. I don't see what Barca can do in this game that will be crazy. They might, get one scrappy goal for Leva, but then it's 4-1 to PSG. He will get that consolation goal. I don't know.
Really confident right there. Like, maybe a bit too confident.
No, I think it's disrespectful comparing these two teams because I don't think we are at the same level. Like, Barca fans are confident because they've had a good purple patch in their last 5 games. We've been unbeaten since November. We have a better manager. We have a better star player. We have a better goalkeeper, a better defense, a better midfield, a better attack. Like, I don't know how this is a close tie. Or am I being arrogant?
I think they got a bit more quality in their midfield. Obviously, with players like Pedri, De Jong, Gundogan, a treble winner last year with Manchester City. Those players can really become dangerous, and we are in danger of being overrun in the midfield sometimes. Obviously, like in defense, they got Joao Cancelo, who's really experienced. Araujo, he's a very controversial figure. Some people hate him, some people love him, but I think everybody agrees that he's an above average defender. He's one of the best in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously up front, like Yamal has been really a breakout star for them, creating everything in the attack. Rafinha has been. I don't really know much about Rafinha. He's been really quiet this year. For me, I didn't really hear much stuff about him. But obviously up front they have Lewandowski, former treble winner with Bayern. A really good player, really good target man. So I think it's closer than most people think. Obviously, I still see us as the favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be really overconfident going in.
No, I'm extremely excited. I'm extremely ready for this game. If we lose, if Barca beats us, I would give Barca their. I don't know. I don't like to decorate the opponent, but I will respectfully say congrats on beating Paris Saint-Germain. But when we win, I will talk my talk because somehow the media narrative has started to change into, oh, Barca are coming into this game with much better form. And I look back and when we beat them 4-1, it was the exact same story. Barca were coming into that game with better form. And we absolutely demolished them. So we'll have to wait and see. And lastly but not least, just a quick checkup on the upcoming games in the month of April. What games do you see us win? What games do you see us lose? What games do you see us draw?
I don't know. The month is really unpredictable now because we play so many games, contrary to the month of March.
Yeah.
Now we got a semi-final against Rennes. Obviously, I think the result of the Le Classique will be out by now after this video is uploaded. Yeah. So we played that game as well. And then we go on to play Barca. And then we have another derby with Lyon. And then it really comes down a bit. So we have like Le Havre at the park where I see a bit more rotation happening.
Yeah.
Contrary to the previous 3 games. And then Clermont at home, so maybe another game for rotation and resting for big players like Mbappe, Lucas, and Dembele.
Yeah.
And then we go to Barcelona to play the away game, which will hopefully end it by the first leg. Hopefully we don't need to do much in the second leg.
Yeah.
And yeah, we come to wrap up the month on the 24th against Lorient away. Another probably easier game. A good game to close out the month where a bit of rotation can happen again. Yeah.
Do you look at that Lyon game as a difficult / big game? Because I mean they've not been that good this season, but in 2024 they have just flipped it around and started winning games.
Yeah, Lyon really started the new year very well. They had some positive results since January. They won against Marseille, they won against Lille in the Coupe de France, they won against Nice in the league. Obviously, they had a big loss against Lens. So they really picked up their form this year. Obviously, at the start, they were really in that relegation spot, being last. Everybody was panicking, but now have cracked the top 10 and are on 35 points. Really close to clubs like Rennes, Marseille, and Lens.
Yeah.
So maybe if they have a good game against us, they can push into getting in that Conference League spot.
And they're also in the Coupe de France. And
because
they're facing an easy opponent, we'll probably face them in the final.
Yeah.
Well then, that's been it for PSG Monthly of the month of Mars. Pleasure having you on, Giorgios. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to smash the like button, whether you're listening to this on YouTube or Spotify. And yeah, enjoy the month of April. That's been it from your boy PSGINT and Giorgios. And as usual, allez Paris.